Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and in this review we're looking at the latest model from Helm, which is called the Khuraburi. I've reviewed their previous model, the Vanuatu, both version 1 and version 2, and that is a really good watch for the money. That costs $275. This new model, only a little bit more expensive, $300, which is about £215. Really, that's still not a lot of money for the amount of watch you're getting. So let's open it up, have a look at it, and see how good a watch it is for the money. So here's our initial box. Have this sleeve. Just slip that off. Open her up. So we have our warranty card. Nice little cloth there. And we are presented with the watch itself. So a couple of other, I think there's just the spare links that I've taken out of. We have a bunch of spare pins, which is pretty cool, and then a really nice little tool. It's basically a tiny screwdriver for resizing the bracelet, which is a really nice little touch as well, because it's really nicely made, that is. Okay, let's just shovel this stuff off to the side. Obviously, it comes on a stainless steel bracelet, but we also have the NATO strap. So every watch purchase comes with a NATO strap. You can choose the color, but in addition to this, I've got the canvas strap. Now this can be bought. This doesn't come free, but it can be bought for $20 if I can get it out. With a watch. Very nice quality, actually, really good. And it comes in sort of like two different styles, one with a matching blue stitch and one with a contrasting cream stitch, which is a nice touch. And you can just literally switch the buckle over to depending on which way you fancy it. Interestingly, the logo is engraved on the bottom of the buckle rather than top. That is a design feature. So more and more people seem to be doing that, and I still don't quite get it. I'd much prefer the logo on the top, but never mind. Either way, it's very comfortable, really good quality, really well made as well. You can see how thick, decent stitching, decent quality canvas it is. The NATO strap is pretty bog standard NATO quality, really. The hardware is nice and brushed as well, and right on the underside you see we have the Helm logo there. Okay, so moving on to the watch itself. As I mentioned before, $300, £215. Let's discuss some of the specs. So we have a diameter of 42mm, so I've got about a 7¼ inch wrist. 42mm diameter, a pretty tall height of 16mm. So that might put a few people off, and a lug-to-lug length of 49mm as well. So, I mean, the diameter of 42mm, that's pretty standard as far as diving watches go. The height of 16mm, it is pretty tall, but it does add to the overall chunky impression of the watch. So I think you're not really going to be wearing this watch too much in a smart kind of outfit anyway. So I don't think it will create too much of an issue in that regard. But if you are wearing something like a jumper, for instance, or a hoodie, it is very difficult to fit under the like a tight collar, because it is really big and thick and chunky. So it's much better suited to a t-shirt weather. Weight-wise, so with all the links in, it's 225 grams. It is a real beast of a watch. I've removed. How many links did I remove? Let's have a look. I removed 4 links. I removed 4 links, and that's brought it down to 200 grams. So this current setup that I have right here on my wrist is 200 grams. So it is really decent, heavy watch. You know, it really does feel like top quality. Watch. There's loads of steel. Really, when you think about it. Water resistance, very good, 30 atmospheres or 300 meters. So that is most likely going to be more than anyone of us are ever going to need. Certainly going to be suitable for for scuba diving, I guess. Nothing like deep sea diving or anything like that, but you would have a very specific watch to use for that anyway. So it will certainly handle whatever you throw at it. Movement is a Seiko NH35. So this is a very solid, reliable movement with a good reputation. It's also very easy to regulate, and this one has been regulated very well. I put it on my Lepsy watch scope, plus 4.2 seconds a day, which is incredible within COSC specs. So that's really, really impressive. Other specs include 21.6 thousand beats per hour, so that's 6 ticks a second. You can see it very slowly ticking away. Hacking seconds hand and the ability to hand wind it as well. It's obviously automatic, and then it has a whopping 24 joules. It does have a date function, but we're obviously not using it in this instance. We have 22mm lug width. It's a very nice, thick, chunky bracelet, which suits the 42mm diameter case nicely, and then you get a 1-year warranty as well. One other spec that's worth mentioning is that the bezel insert is actually sapphire crystal, which is a nice touch, and it provides a nice like a reflective surface as well, which, as you can see there, really catches the eye nicely. Okay, so let's discuss the watch in even more detail. So starting off with the dial. This is obviously the blue version. It comes in a variety of different variations. This is the blue. I really, really like it. The colour is really subtle. It's not too bright, but it is a very nice, classy, elegant kind of colour to it. Legibility is excellent. As you can see, we have massive hour markers, really big, thick hands as well. And everything else is quite subtle, really. The logo, the H logo, is a blue but an off colour, so you can see that. So is the printing in the bottom half, which says, let's have a look actually. Divers 300 meters automatic, I believe. Yeah. So you can see there. Divers 300 meters automatic. Now this is probably the only issue I have with the watch, actually, the logo and the colour that's used on the logo. It's very difficult to get a decent shot actually because of this. We'll discuss it in a bit, but the domed sapphire crystal is quite reflective. So the colour of the logo doesn't quite match the colour of the text, but it's also quite shiny, and to me it looks a little bit tacky. I think it would have been much nicer if it was just plain printed or something different. But the colour, the hue of the blue doesn't quite match the rest of the blue. So really, that's my only issue probably with the entire watch, really. But it does just jar on the eye a little bit. The logo is obviously very cool. A nice H in a circle with dashes in each corner. But there you go. So a very subtle minute track around the outside as well. Apart from that, everything else is very, very straightforward. The loom is really, really strong. And as I mentioned before, the hands are really thick. So easy to read this, especially in the dark. So really good job on that. And they've also kept it quite interesting as well because of the shapes used. So yes, they are bold. Yes, they are easy to read, but they're also, a little bit interesting in their shape usage as well. Moving on to the case then, a slight bulbous kind of shape to it, as you can see. I do like the unusual positioning of the crown at 10. Obviously, usually it's at 3. Sometimes it's at a jaunty 4. Very rarely do you actually see it all the way over in 10. This you can actually order this watch with the crown at 4. But this one in particular is at 10. And I quite like it. It's a very different, very unique. And if you got it on your left hand, like I wear my watches, then obviously it doesn't dig into your hand at all. So that's another nice positive. The only weird thing is that when you're setting and winding the watch, it is the opposite way to usual. So to actually unscrew it, usually you'd unscrew it like that, whereas this way you've got to unscrew it like that. So it does take a little bit getting used to, but I just find that I just switch it around to the way I'm used to, unscrew it and wind it up that way. So There we go. Whilst we're talking about the crown, it is really nicely manufactured as well, really well um, built. You can see we've got some really big, thick grip on it with the Helm logo, very neatly engraved on the end as well. Really impressive. The entire case is really nicely manufactured. If we look at the bezel now, we have this really big, thick, easy to use grip. The actual action of the bezel isn't the smoothest. It's a little bit jerky, not too smooth either, but it lines up really nicely on this one. And because of the epic grip, you know, it is easy to use. And as I mentioned before, it has a very nice sapphire crystal insert, which provides a nice little bit of reflection. And the print work on the insert as well is really accurate and really nicely done. This is all loomed, so that's another really good point. Keeps everything really really bright and legible. So continuing with the case, everything is brushed. Really sensible choice. Keeps, you know, everything more resilient to scratches. We have drilled through lugs as well, so making changes to the strap is very simple. You just push a little tool in there that will release the pin. And then moving on to the case back, so we have a very deep stamped case back on this version, and various specifics around the center, but you know, you don't usually get a quality of case back like this on a watch costing $300. It's really, really impressive, really nicely done, and you know, really nice to look at with the eyes. Moving on to the bracelet then, really big, thick, decent links, as you can see there, nice angles on it as well, and the angles provide a nice variety of reflections when you're wearing it. You know, if I just put it back on, you know, it reflects the light really nicely, and it just adds to that aura of the quality of watch. Considering the price, you know, it really does punch well above its weight. And then finally the single locking buckle, so you just flap it up and open it up. I'm surprised it hasn't got double lock in, you know, with little buttons on the side, so that might be a cause for concern for some. We do have a lot of micro adjustment as well, so it's really easy to get a perfect fit, which I have done. Okay, so let's get the macro lens on and have a look at it in closer detail. Oops. Okay. So, starting with the dial, just give it a quick wipe. So here you can see the logo. So you can see the blue doesn't quite, you know, it's not quite it's more of a sky blue than the blue used on the dial. Obviously, I appreciate it's to make it easily readable, but they probably could have done with a lighter version of the dial backdrop. Would have been slightly nicer, I think. Here's our hour markers, very nice and thick and deep as well, as you can see. And then our minute track is actually on like a little step up from the main dial as well, which is a nice little touch. You know, these two things provide a tiny sense of depth as well, which is quite nice, working together. Looking at our hands, all very nicely manufactured. Okay, moving on to the case. So let's start with the bezel. I'll just give it another quick wipe. Here's our insert printed. There we go. Then our decent grip around the outside as well, as you can see, really nicely manufactured there. Really easy to use. Moving on to our case then, here's our drilled through lug with our brushing finish. Nice sharp edging, nice decent corners, good machining all around. Moving on to the crown, here's the logo on the end. Again, really accurate. Nice grip on the crown itself as well. If we flip it over, have a look at the case back. So there's our really deep stamped element, and our Helm logo deep stamped as well. Again, really, really impressive for the price of this watch, this case back. I mean, I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but just to see the quality in it is, is a really good thing. Moving on to the bracelet then. Here's our links. Again, fully brushed. Nice, thick, decent, angular, shapely links. And we can probably have a look at one of these screws as well. Yeah, so it's a screw pin. So just be careful that they're all nice and tight, just so they don't come undone. And then just having a quick look at the buckle. There's the Helm logo engraved on the top bar. And just a standard brushed finish. You see it's starting to pick up a few little tiny marks on it. Okay, so I've always been a fan of Helm. I've thought the Vanuatu was a very, very impressive watch for the money. I feel the Khuraburi is even better. For just $25 more, it's such a really, really, really decent, heavy-duty, well-machined, well-constructed watch. Of course, it's not going to be to everyone's taste. It is it's obviously a diver watch, and the specs support it as well. So I like this one in particular. I like the way it has the unusual crown positioning. I like the blue used as well. Just everything about it is just really nice to touch, nice to see as well. The general finishing of the links, the shape of the links, the grip on the bezel, and the overall shape of the case as well. Really, really nice, nicely done. So really impressed with it, and I think it's going to be a really, really good seller for them for many years to come. So highly impressed, and I would highly recommend it. Okay, so this was the Helm Khuraburi, and that's what it's all about.